for Spain. Now, I couldn't just choose any artist or any lyric. It became a lot more complicated, especially since American music really infiltrated Spain music. I think in 2 of the lists, Taylor Swift's song, I Knew You Were Trouble, was #1 in 2 of Spain's lists. So it would defeat the purpose to say, oh yeah, Taylor Swift is popular, because she's not Spanish, she's not representative of my culture. So what I had to do is I had to go through all of Spain's lists and research the artists and their origins. Okay, you actually were born in Spain, you sing in Spanish. So that could be generalized to Spain and not America. But then once I got to the actual lyrics and the artists, I had to even simplify it even more, because now, not every artist has a song that's about love. So I had to look in all of their lyrics. I went through literally every single lyric of all of these artists, and I chose the ones that use the word love, amor, querer, and amor. And amar and querer are Spanish verbs for to love. So now that I had these lyrics, I had 86 Spanish songs and 82 American songs, and I had 15 American artists and 14 Spanish artists. But we're not done there, because that's only half of my project. So now I went and searched YouTube to learn about marriage and proposals and their significance there. In America, I typed in marriage proposal America, and that's all I did for that. And you know, it actually brought up 2,920 videos.
Wow.
And all of them were relevant. And when I went to Spain, I had to type in 4 videos of Marlon Hispanic. You can read them in a nice Spanish accent in your head. And it brought up 733 videos, which I was really excited about. And then I went through them and found out that only 17 of them are relevant. So once I got those results, I wrote out the number of videos total and relevant and the number of views, and we'll come back to that later when I'm talking about my results. Now before I go into the juicy results, I would like to take a moment and just talk about the couple limitations that have the possibility of stopping my research. First, like I said, American music is in Spain, and it is just everywhere. You cannot avoid it. One of my artists, Enrique Iglesias, and Love Lesbian, another artist, they actually had songs in English, and they used terms of endearment that don't exist in the Spanish language. So I had to get rid of a lot of their music, because it's just not representative of Spain, and that's an issue. Also, the female artists were widely underrepresented. In the 15 American, there were only 2, and in the 14 Spanish, there were only 2. So for further study, it would be advisable to try to find artists that really encompass both genders on a more equal basis. And then lastly, when I was going through my coding of the lyrics, there's a chance that I missed a couple of examples of terms of endearment, or I might have missed the word love. And further study could show that those could bring out more examples and more research that I didn't find in my study. All right. So now, the moment that we are all here for. What does this all actually mean? Before I really want to go into that, I just want you guys to know that this is a lot of information, and it really is tailored to the audience. And I'm not going to be giving all of the exemplars of where I found and derived my results. So if you're interested in which lyrics specifically influenced what I found, feel free to ask me for the paper, and when I'm done with it, I will give it to you, because this is all in the paper. But for time constraints, I'm not really going to go into the exact details of where I found it. So this is something that you don't really think about until you're dating intercultures, but how do you figure out pet names in different languages? I mean, would you straight translate your English terms of endearment? Would you use miel for honey or corazón dulce for sweetheart? What would you do when it comes to terms of endearment cross-culturally? Well, you can do this where you just use American terms of endearment. I could have called Mommy baby, which, as you see, of all the terms of endearment that I found, that 8 of them in my lyrics, almost 75% of them, they use baby, followed by darling, which had 25 people used. That's not the percentage, but. And then with my girl being the lowest, not only used once, which I can't call on you my girl, but I would say transgender. Or you can just listen to Spanish songs and figure out what words they use. You see, cariño is used almost 50% of the time, and princesa is used the smallest. Again, wouldn't call him princesa, but he calls me that every once in a while. Okay, but now you guys need to also note though, I'm about to show you how often these are used. You can see, Spain did not use terms of endearment like practically ever, whereas in American lyrics, baby was used 205 times. I only had 82 songs, so that's at least twice every song. And then the next one with darling, they use that 25 and then 23 with mama, interestingly enough. So Spain, it makes sense now that I didn't know how to use Spanish terms of endearment because they don't really use them, whereas in America they do. But does that mean something? Does baby actually mean something? What context do they use it in? Well, very unfortunately, actually, baby is only used twice, 205 times in a love context. The rest of the times it's used, it's only when the sender wants to have pure sexual relations with the receiver, or they want to insult the receiver. It's not used for someone that the person has been in love with or wants to fall in love with. The same with mama. It's used less frequently, but it's also for sex. And then we have honey, which carries a negative connotation. It's when you only want to have a one-night stand with someone, or it's used when the sender desires no contact, when they're trying to push that person away. You know, kind of a funny, like, you know, that one. So, mama and baby are the two most used, and they're used in horrible ways. So, don't ever call anyone baby or honey. That's not Now, luckily, the rest of them are positive. Darling, sweetheart, my girl. Those are used in very nice ways, but they're only used like 9 times. So, what about in Spain? Well, the most popular term was cariño, but that was only used 9 times, which Juan calls me that all the time. So I'm like, yeah, you use popular terms of endearment. And all of those are positive and for someone that the sender loved. In fact, all of the terms of endearment used in Spain were for someone that they loved to some degree or had loved in the past. There's only one use, nena, which was used in something kind of not loving, and that's in Mi Primer Beso by Melody, and he's talking about this girl that he loved. She was his first love and his first kiss, but she basically just used him and gave him the wrong number, and he was really sad. And so he actually says, Nena, I'm your beverage, you have to shake me before you use me. And so he says that, you know, kind of out of spite, but he actually did call her cariño earlier on in the song, so we know that he has strong feelings for her. So even in the worst case in Spanish terms of endearment, it's still in a context of love. And also, Spanish terms of endearment are never used for lust, ever. So they really do have that separation of love and lust down pat, whereas in America, not so much. Alright, so now, what are the different types of love that they talk about? When I talk about types of love, I'm talking about the noun love, not the verb love, which we'll get to soon. In America, they really have a wide spectrum. You know, you can talk about your love of Jesus, or your love of your children, or of your friends. You can talk about love being dirty, as Kesha uses it. You can talk about it being true. It can be blinding. It can be real, according to Katy Perry, but then Katy Perry goes on to talk about the guy that she really loves is actually just her toy. So, thank you, Katy Perry. It can be urgent, and it can be simple. So we have every spectrum here is being enveloped by the types of love. So it makes it really hard to nail down when you're saying, like, oh yeah, I feel so much love for this person. Well, what kind, America? What are you talking about? Luckily, if we were in Spain, it's a lot more restrictive. So when they talk about amor, yes, they agree with America that it's blind. They agree that it could be confused for loneliness, it could be for fun. But they mainly say that love is cruel. It's really depressing. It's eternal and stronger every day, but they say, in almost every song that talks about love, they say, without your love, I would die. So, which we all think is very typical Spanish, and yes, according to the lyrics, it is. But in essence, it's a lot more restricted that you know if you're feeling really strongly about this person that without the feeling that they give you, you're going to die. That's pretty restrictive. So now we're going to look at when can you say love? Like, can I say I love you, Danielle? Can I say I love that desk? Well, in America, yes, you can. You can say anything. You can say, I love running. I love Marcus's glasses. I love my belt. I love lamp, as people say. So, you have so many options. You can say that you love your spouse that you've been with for 35 years with the same word that you used to describe the concept. But what about Spain? You can virtually never say love because they're so restrictive. You can only say that you're in love with people that you're actually in love with, which I really like. Not because that is very true. All right, so now we're talking about falling in love. Like I said earlier, I'm a person that falls in love very quickly, and that's very American of me. There are degrees. Kesha says that she kind of fell in love, but it was fake. It can be accidental. You know, you just trip